In a world where we gather together once a week, we have the hosts of the Bear Claw podcast and Bleachers to Speakers join me to talk about some football, but not just any football, football in the NFC North. And that's no different today. We're going to have fun. We're going to sling the banter. We'll probably pick on the team that resides in the middle of all three of us. Next on Who Will Be King. Let the battles begin. And we're here. And I want to introduce everybody on the viewers' left, far left, from the Windy City itself. We have Pay from the Bear Claw podcast. How are things going for you today, Pay?
Just splendid. The Cubs haven't ruined my day today, and we are one day closer to starting the season 1-0. Can't be happier.
I'm forgetting. Who do you open with?
We open with the Tennessee Titans.
At Tennessee or in Chicago?
It would be in Soldier Field. We get to get the party started off right. Opening weekend is the same as Soldier Field's opening day in Chicago, so it's going to be a very nice early autumn weekend for us. As I said, 1-0.
And laughing next to him is Jude from Bleachers to Speakers. Jude, what did you think of that?
Oh well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I don't know what Tennessee has, so we'll see.
It's going to be interesting. Foster, also of Bleachers to Speakers, the creative one. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm maintaining, just trying to stay cool in the crib, I guess.
Okay. I understand that. It's a little warm down here in Texas.
Always.
But always. Well, it's summertime. It's going to be warm. But we're going to get into today's show. First, we want to talk about last week we talked about what it would take to get what are the goals of each team. This week, and we talked about what player needs to step up to get us there. This week, I'm going slightly different. I want you guys to tell me who is your hopeful breakout player this year. And by breakout player, I mean he's in his second season, possibly in his third. Who's going to make the big step up for your team? And let's start with Foster. Who on the Lions in his second year or third, if you want to go that far back, is going to make that step up into being, hey, no shit, this guy's good?
Yeah, well, he's in his third year, I believe, but this will be hopefully his first full year of action, minus any suspensions or injuries. But Jameson Williams is definitely going to be instrumental this year, and this is the year where he's going to complement next to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who obviously just got the big contract, as well as be a big target for Jared Goff, because the first couple years, obviously, he wasn't able to be on the field for various different reasons, and people were really trying to get a feel for who he was going to be, whether it's just a deep threat or a decoy, or if he could really be a second outside receiver. So this is the year where he kind of where he puts up or shut ups, and he makes that impact that we've all been clamoring away for since he was traded, since we traded up for him, knowing that he was going to be injured and miss half the year. So this is a monumental year for him.
Sounds good. June, do you have somebody in mind other than Williamson?
Yeah, I'll go defense, and I'll go in a direction where he didn't contribute much last year. I could have easily said Jahmyr Gibbs, but we know what he can do. But I'm going to go defense and say Jack Campbell. He has a chance to get on the field. He's the linebacker out of Iowa, second year. Didn't have much production last year. He did have some chances to play. And from what I'm hearing, he's having a great offseason. And this will be a chance to show this year what he can actually do. So I'm thinking he'll have the opportunity, and we'll see what happens.
Very interesting. Other national media has said they're looking at Brian Branch, a corner.
Well, I didn't mention Brian because he was pretty good last year.
He was pretty good last year. Yeah.
I didn't want to say breakout season because I thought he had a good season for a rookie. So I just brought someone else that didn't bring much.
It was a little bit different. That's like me with Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison is going into his second year as wide receiver, and to say he's going to have a breakout year, and there's been plenty of publicized stuff saying he's going to have a breakout year, over 1,000 yards. Shit, he was only 30 yards shy last year, and it's just. He's good. Now, is he getting better? Yes. But he's not the one I'm going to focus on. Pay, who in Chicago that falls into the category of a second year or third year player is going to step up and have that breakout season the Bears need, or at least that you want?
Well, two different questions. The guy that I want, that I desire to have that breakout, hopefully it's Darnell Wright, our first draft pick last year. As a right tackle, as the guy we traded back for twice, I would hope that he takes that step forward. He was the most dependable lineman we had last season, and when I say dependable, he was the one that played the most. Nate Davis and a lot of the other guys who were in and out of the lineup. We kind of do need him to step up again because he was the first guy drafted. So definitely need that out of him. And being a tackle is very, very critical in this league, especially when you have a young quarterback, another ballyhoo guy, back there you protecting. Protect the franchise. You definitely need that. We don't want to see any more of that stuff we saw in Detroit where he lets a defensive end run right past his nose and then he kicks the ball out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't want to see any more of that stuff. That's the guy who takes the next step. Who I believe would take that next step. The way the season ended last year, Tyreek Stevenson, he started off looking like a rookie, but his second half of his freshman season was really good. Really, really, really good. If he continues on that upward trend, then we might have two all-pro cornerbacks in the defensive backfield. So, fingers crossed on that one.
Maybe for you, we don't need it, but we'll see. The Lions and the Vikings don't want to play you with a lockdown defense. You know that. But speaking of other teams we don't want to see succeed, let's go to Green Bay. According to some local press, their potential breakout player, and who they think would be great to have him as one, is Carrington Valentine. If he takes that solid step, he would help their defense tremendously. Now, Carrington's contributions in Green Bay were crucial for them qualifying in the playoffs last year. Well, he contributed it. I'll give him that. And he ranked solidly. So, again, if a corner steps up and he's not on your team, I can understand why they select him. I can understand why we don't want him to be that way. And that brings me to the best team in the division, my team, the Minnesota Vikings. When it comes to stepping up, like I said, it's easy to pick Jordan Addison, but Jordan Addison almost had 1,000 yards last year. He's going to have it most likely this year if the quarterbacks are at least competent in throwing the football. We should hopefully have that. And you got to remember, half of last year we had Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins, and Jaron Hall throwing him the ball. So my one to stick with the position group is Mekhi Blackman. He got in the games, and he stood out as a young cornerback that played well. And now he's fighting for a starting position. And actually, I hope he wins it. I hope right now we have the two veterans, Brian Murphy Jr. and then Shaq Griffin. And I'm hoping that they move Murphy into the slot where he's good at, and they bring Mekhi Blackman in. That's who I want to see take that next step and to be a good quality cornerback. And you don't need shutdown corners. You just need good corners, right? Because if you have a bad corner on the opposite side, that's where the quarterback throws. So if you got good across the board, it makes it tough for the offense. And mine will be Mekhi Blackman. Now, who I'd like to see step up is going into his third year, and that's Ed Ingram. Big round belly offensive guard on the right side. He's started every game so far in his career, and he's gotten better and better. I want to see him move into being in that top half. Not just top half. He was right around middle of starting guards last year. I want to see him move up to where he's in the top 10, if possible. But I may be dreaming. We'll find out. But that's who we see, all of us, as taking the next step and wanting to take the next step in the NFC North. With that, we'll move on to our next topic. This one I'm going to start over on the left with pay. Pay, I am seeing tons and tons and tons of stories how your new quarterback is getting picked on, whether it's from players up in Green Bay or I think the other one was the Ravens or Eric Edholm or a whole bunch of other detractors. Everybody is saying, hold your horses on Caleb Williams. He hasn't proven squat. He's not as good as you think he is. He's fragile. He cries if his toe gets stepped on. All this sort of stuff. Tell us what the true story is in Chicago with your new quarterback.
Well, the true story hasn't been written yet. So if anybody has an opposite opinion, go ahead and get it out the way now, because once September 8th rolls around, claws up and bear down. Caleb Williams is going to be he's going to get a little bit of that Caitlin Clark effect. You know, he's got all the attention. Everybody's talking about him. He's supposed to be some type of generational guy. And he did the work at USC to get that type of praise, right? So now he's got to prove it. Caitlin Clark is doing her thing. She's proven it in the W. And you're going to see Caleb Williams have his own, bumps and bruises in the NFL the first 2 months of the season. Maybe someone's going to step on his toe a lot. But I'm pretty sure that happened a lot in USC as well. He's going to fire right back at him, and he's got 3 great wide receivers to help him pick on those bullies: Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Roma Duze. It's going to be, let's just say, you can't pick on this kid too much because he's gonna be punching back.
How's the offensive line at protecting him?
Ooh, it ain't that offensive line of the 72 Dolphins. I know that much, but it was bad going into last season, and they played better than the names on the back of their jerseys. I give them that. We had some good scheming going on. Braxton Jones on the left side, Darnell Wright on the right side. The aforementioned him, Nate Davis, who's never wants to practice. He barely wants to play. You know, when he was there, he was pretty solid. Tevin Jenkins, when he's there, he's the best offensive lineman we have. But again, none of these guys named. They're not, walking the building starters for any other team. They got to earn their spot. These are average at best guys. So if they can play above their head again this season, it'd be great. Offense will be firing on all cylinders, you hope. But, again, that word I used, hope.
Hope. Yes, we all use hope. And all fan bases have hope at this time of year. We're all 0-0 and undefeated.
Hope is high. Hope is high in June.
Yes, it is. But speaking of your offense, continuing in Chicago, Shane Waldron, your OC, says the offense is seeking out its own identity. That sort of brings you back to Caleb Williams. He may be doing the same thing. But as the offensive coordinator, he thinks that this personnel group is set up to attack and being capable to succeed in many ways that, unlike last year, they weren't. Besides the triple header at wide receiver, how else do you see Waldron orchestrating that offense?
Well, other than the guys in the as you said, in the wide receiver room, we still do have a pretty good weapon coming out of the backfield, and as you may recall, we did have the number one rushing attack 2 years in a row. Now, it may not be that this year. We don't have Justin Fields anymore, but we still do have a great complementary pieces coming out of the backfield, as well as Cole Kmet and from the tight end spot, who's a monster. He's like 6'6", 280, running up the seam. So it's no shortage of weapons for Caleb. What I think the offensive coordinator Shane Waldron is speaking to, as far as like developing its identity.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people have tried to, up to this point, guesstimate, to use a made-up word, what the offense will look like based on what he's done with Geno in the past and based on what we've seen with Caleb and what we can assume those two would do with these weapons I just mentioned. Waldron, he's telling everybody, hey, look, we're putting it together. You will see it. And as they work more with each other over the next 8 weeks, it will be what you see week 1, what you see on September 8th is what will come from them working together over the next 8 weeks. None of that stuff that you're pulling out of the sky. So you got to
different in week 18.
Say it again.
Will that be different in week 18? Week 1 versus week 18. How much growth do you see?
Oh, yeah, of course it'll be different from week 1 to week 18. The offense is being led by a rookie. You're going to have growing pains. I hope he's done with those growing pains by the time the division schedule starts towards the back end of the season. And as the weather starts to turn, it's going to be some growing pains. So it definitely is going to change. Hope it changed for the better. If you've been reading the press clippings and some of the mini camps and everything, he's had a lot of near interceptions, playing against a very good, talented secondary, very good, talented front back seven and 707. So if he's seeing all that right now and having those growing pains now in the summer, it's only gonna make him better come September, and it'll only make him even better come December. So
I got you.
to that point, the identity is going to be ever evolving, which is something you always want to do in this league, because if you stay the same, you're going to get figured out, and you will always be figured out. So I hope that is always evolving.
Okay. I see Scottish Bear in the remarks, and I posted some of them up there. He thinks Caleb Williams is the real deal, and that center was the problem. But once they figured that out, that'll be fine. Scottish Bear,
Center
I
is
see you.
definitely the problem.
I see you right center with the RE, the Canadian or European way. Are you over there in Scotland? Just curious. From there, let's go from Chicago to Detroit. Speaking of quarterbacks, and we'll start with their quarterback. I have a nice little story here that says 5 reasons Jared Goff could be league MVP. Do you guys think that's the case? Can he be?
No.
Damn. Okay.
Care to explain?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just think in a league with Lamar Jackson and the other quarterbacks that's doing a little bit more statistically. Not to say that Goff is not doing anything statistically, but I just don't think he'll be considered. And I think a lot of our success will rely on the 2 running backs we have. So I think the more Goff has to do is not favorable for us as a team. So
Yeah, but what if you guys got Amon St. Ra. You've got running backs. You've got a tight end. You've got probably the best offensive line in the league, if not the second best. He's got tons of stuff to work with.
absolutely.
But what if he leads you guys to the promised land?
I mean, he almost did that last year. I mean,
Almost, yes.
so I'm just saying. I mean, but was he in talks of MVP?
I mean, we had a putrid secondary last year. The beauty in it this year is the fact that they filled in some of the holes. One thing that's going to put you in consideration is wins. We should continue to win games and not have to lean so heavily on Goff putting up 40 points a game. We brought in a Pro Bowl offensive lineman who specializes in pass blocking, and Kevin Zeitler. As you said, we do have 2 running backs that's also going to protect him in the fact that he's one of the best play action quarterbacks in the league. And it'll be another year of Sam Laporta, who was only a rookie and already a top 5 tight end as is. So everything sets up as far as the weapons that he has to work with, and the fact that they're going to have more support defensively than they had last year to give him an opportunity. So yeah, he wasn't in the talks of it last year, but I think that we're going to have that much more. I think it comes down to publicity and reputation, and now that we've built a reputation, sometimes people have to, if they don't buy into it, that's gonna hurt what you have going on too. Now that we're a perennial, possible Super Bowl candidate, there's gonna be much more eyes and probably more, television press, and it's got all the makings of it's got all the dressings of somebody of a MVP run. But we'll see, and it's the safest bet is to say no, because only one person can win.
Also,
I kind of agree with you there, Foster.
But also, what plays into not to diminish anything that Goff is doing, if everything goes as we hope, the improved defense, where, as you mentioned, we had a putrid defense last year as far as pass defense. If those things play out like we want them to play, and they play out in the Lions' favor, Goff wouldn't be passing for all these yards. He wouldn't have to have these a couple of miraculous comebacks or a game like versus the Chargers where he's putting up those numbers, those kind of games wouldn't probably exist if the defense is that much better than it was last year. So it's not a knock against Goff for what he can do. It's just I'm hoping he doesn't have to do, or surpass what he's been doing.
It's going to make the team look better though, because a lot of times the quarterback is going to get all the shine regardless if it has nothing to Well, I mean, if you're up there, if it's every game is 13-3, quarterback's not going to look very good. But if the team is winning a bunch of games, they're going to directly look and say, hey, it must be because they have a great quarterback. They don't watch all these games. They're just looking at it from face. Well, hopefully the MVP voters are watching the games, but there's a lot of optics that goes into it too. That isn't necessarily that's viewed from the outside looking in. I'll say.
I think to get the MVP, you've got to either be, just super outstanding, throw for 5,000 plus yards and 50 touchdowns and all that sort of stuff as a quarterback, or, and this is the big or, you lead your team to 13, 14, 15 wins. You go to the conference championship and you're help driving them. And in the process, you throw 35 touchdowns and 4,500 yards or whatever. But you're making everybody else look good. You're making Amon-Ra look good. You're making, your tight end look good and your other wide receivers look good. And you're handing off the ball well and you're doing play action great. Stuff like that. And I agree with Foster. It's more eyes are now upon Detroit than there has been in probably our lifetimes. And that gets noticed. More people see that. And they say, oh shit, Detroit won again. Detroit won again. Detroit won again. And then when it comes back, because there'll be voters that look and go, all right, where's Detroit? Detroit's this? It's got to be them. And they may not have watched, one or two games the entire season. Yeah. And that's all they saw. So it's possible. Now, June, I know you wanted to talk about what ifs, especially when it concerned your quarterback, but in your team. Why don't you start with that?
Okay. The what ifs, right? Ultimately, we have scenarios where based on team success, like what are certain things that what if this is happening, or can this happen to propel your team to be successful this year? And I think the list of what ifs that I had, let me get here because I'm just totally thrown off here. But for instance, with Goff, right? The what ifs. Will Goff have a successful season? I think if he does, we'll be right where we were last year, if not better. The defense. Will the defense have a better pass defense? That pass defense last year was horrific, and I think the way it was addressed, I don't foresee it being any worse. I see it being an improvement. Hopefully, it's a strength instead of a weakness this year. And what if the Lions have a complimentary edge rusher outside of Hutch? They were saying Hutch was having a quiet year at some point in the season. How many sacks did he wind up having, Foster? Was it like 9.5 or 10?
I want to say 12, but I do not know offhand.
It wasn't a bad number, but there was no one on the other side that had anywhere near that.
11.5.
He had 11.5 sacks. And for a while, he had the first 4 or 5 games, he was kind of quiet. He would get the sacks in bunches. He would get like 2 in a game, and then he'd be quiet for a game, and then he'll get 2 more. it was sort of like that all season. But the other side, there was no one on the other side, edge rushing wise, that put up half those numbers. So let's say you have a complimentary edge that got 8 or 9 sacks, along with Hutch getting his double digit sacks. That could be huge. We haven't had that. So that's my last what if. What if the Lions had a complimentary edge on the other side that could do just as good as Hutch? I
How many
think if that
sacks total did Detroit have last season? Do you know? Without, we can go to NFL.com or wherever and look it up, but
I don't have that number, but if you look at
is it around
individuals,
50?
I don't know. But if you look at individual
40,
sacks, I don't think
41.
there's anyone close to 11 and a half.
Okay. Well, 41.
We have 41.
Yeah, and that's low. You want to be around 50. You want to be above 50.
Right.
And that's generally, and then throw pressures on top of that. Pressures are even more important. But
And it's a passing league, so you have more opportunity for sacks more than ever.
so I know that's something we want on the Viking side. We want more sacks as well. And that's why we had there's a comment from the frustrated Chicago sports fan and the deal saying the Lions can win MVP, Bears are going to win NFC Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then Vikings SKOL responded, and the Vikings are going to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year. And speaking of sacks, that's Dallas Turner. For those that don't know, we drafted this year. Detroit wanted him. Chicago wanted him. Green Bay wanted him, but Minnesota got him. And I was looking up today what the record is for a rookie in sacks, and it's I forget the name. Just a stud. Got like 13 and a half. Vikings record is 11 for a rookie. And both number 1 and number 2, there was 10 and a half and 11. And it was Kevin Williams and I want to say Keith Millard. Both happen to be interior defensive linemen that set that record. And not our edge rushers. Our edge rushers generally tend to slow. They take a year or two to get up to where they're doing the double-digit sacks every season.
Was Randall interior too?
Johnny Randall? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Oh, we've had some good interior. That's our weakness. And that's a story that's published this week, and it's something that Darren Campbell, my partner on Two Old Bloggers, and I discussed this last Sunday, is the one spot we're the weakest right now is our interior defensive line. Are they good? Are they going to be decent against the run? Sure. But do we have that pressure, like that Bosa-style pressure up the middle? No. That's what we want. Because, like I said, you want to get at least 50 pressures. 70 pressures because your interior defensive linemen are better. That makes playing defense a whole lot easier on the backside because the front guys are getting at the quarterback. So we'll see. Kurtwood says 17 sack a game. That'd be nice, buddy. That would be nice. Absolutely. Well, I think this is the point we're going to take a quick break. For those that are watching and for those that are listening, you will get the nice commercials inserted here. I am going to find the right switch and play a little music. And that's enough. We're back. That'll be our marker. All right. We've gone through who we think is going to be the breakout player. We've talked about 2 of the 4 quarterbacks in the league, or quarterback positions. There's at least one more I want to talk about, and that belongs to Green Bay. The professional football player that is Jordan Love.
I forgot about that.
I didn't.
There is a report that I got off of, what was it, ESPN, that Matt LaFleur is trying to work with him to improve his footwork and his pocket presence. Sounds great. Most coaches work with their quarterbacks on footwork and pocket presence. But do they do that with a fourth-year quarterback that's played in the same system for 3 consecutive years? That seems a little odd to me. Hey, Kevin O'Connell is doing it with J.J. McCarthy right now. And I'm sure he's doing a little bit, not so much footwork and pocket presence with Sam Darnold, but he is working with Sam Darnold because Sam Darnold's learning a new scheme. But Jordan Love has played in the same scheme for the last 3 years. This will be his 4th. Does it seem odd to any of you that they're still working on footwork and pocket presence?
Green Bay, nothing surprises me.
It's odd for that to be the report in the same offseason where some people are hypothesizing that he can be the first 60 million guy quarterback in the NFL history. That's odd, but I'm glad they are working on his pocket presence because he's gonna need to be aware of his pocket now that he's a soon to be married man. Congratulations to Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
Finding love.
love, finding love. Scottish Bear's right though. There's news just this week. Former Detroit Lion and now Minnesota Viking TJ Hawkinson got hitched. Beautiful bride, and the ceremony was out in Hawaii. And I don't expect to see TJ on the field until the second half of the season because he's recovering from his ACL surgery due to a Detroit hit end of last season.
I wanted to know if Kirby got invited to the wedding. I know they were ex-teammates and all.
I don't know. I don't know if he did or not. But the pictures from the wedding are nice. But Scottish Bear says Love will regress because he got married. I'm worried about TJ doing the same thing because I know most men, once they get married, there is that sort of whoop when it comes to job performance because they're focusing on other things.
Tell me about it.
Establishing the marriage,
Yeah.
And things happen. I know personally it happened to me as well. So I was a hard charger, got married, and then things slowed down and priorities changed a little bit. So how that generally that goes.
It's her fault.
Yeah, always. But we'll find out. Anybody getting married over in Chicago? Pay?
Not for the Bears. Everybody is young and blowing money fast, and hopefully they got all the time in the world to play PlayStation and read that playbook.
Work on footwork.
Work on footwork. And there's nothing new on the Vikings quarterback front. We're still expecting Sam Darnold to start, and J.J. McCarthy is working on learning the playbook and working on that footwork. Exactly. So that's
Goff
that.
just got married, though.
Goff,
hey, we got regression coming. There's a what if you should have included June.
Thus, new MVP.
That's funny. All right.
New money, new love. I like it.
Hey, if it works, it works.
They're just painting their nails.
All right. Now, some quick headlines around the division. Did you know that the Packers elected a new team president? He doesn't take place until July of 2025, but they did. He's replacing Mark Murphy. And you remember Mark Murphy once a year goes to Lambeau Field and all the fans come, all the stockholders come, and they give the status of the Green Bay Packers report to him. And they all get drunk inside the stadium and have a good time. Well, Mark Murphy, this is his last season as president of the Green Bay Packers, and he was replaced by Carmen Policy's son, Ed Policy. Now, if Carmen Policy doesn't ring a bell, you may not be old enough, but Carmen Policy was the one that helped develop the great teams in San Francisco. And there's a ton of historic lineage there. But his son, Ed, got elected, and part of it was because his pivotal role in the development of Titletown, which is the new build-up development around Lambeau Field. We'll see it next spring for the draft. Do any of you think this will change anything in Green Bay starting in 2025 to have a policy running their team?
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. I'm everything they've done in the last, under the current president has not been in my team's favor. So hopefully, some things start to change. And if not, I'm going to figure out how many A-class stock it takes to get on the board of governors, because then I'm going to get on there and start doing some things myself.
I think that's funny. Hey, I think it's been thought of before too. So who knows? I didn't see much else going on in Detroit. It's been pretty quiet.
Very quiet.
You guys report when? I know it's end of July sometime. I know the dates came out last week.
I did not pay attention. It's been very quiet around here. I mean, the biggest thing was Goff getting married past 3 weeks. So it's been quiet. I haven't paid attention to anything. I haven't heard anything. You have these podcasts, the local podcasts here, that are talking about breakout players, and a lot of them, in my opinion, are reaching because there's not really much to talk about.
Well, it's that time of year when we're starting to see lists. Who's the top 5 on your Mount Rushmore? Those style lists.
Yeah,
lists are good content.
Okay, and we do content. So I was just curious because through my search, I didn't see a whole lot other than who's breakouts, and then talking about that your quarterback could be MVP, and that Mekhi Wingo impressed coaches during the off season. I guess that's a good thing for you, isn't it?
Yeah, we're looking for pass rush. That he might be when I think of people, I forget about Mekhi Wingo, but yeah, he's he could be the edge rusher of the future opposite Hutch. We will see.
Hey, for you guys, I hope so. Now in Chicago, besides everybody putting down their new quarterback, let's see. The news that sparked me came out yesterday. Has to do with the stadium. Arlington Heights, which is the home of the racetrack where they raced horses, that the Bears, I think, own, don't they?
Yeah, they bought it a year or so ago. They bought it. They own it. They've actually demolished it already.
Really? It's a pretty racetrack. Mm-hmm. For those that like watching the ponies. But the whole idea that why they didn't want to build, one of the reasons they didn't want to build there was because of back taxes. Supposedly they're real close to settling that back tax issue. Do you think them pushing the story out that, hey, we're close, is to push a resolution of either downtown on the lakefront or Arlington?
Yeah. All of it, this is politics. You gotta to steal a horse pun. You gotta trade horses, right? Chicago had dangled the carrot, another horse pun, dangled the Arlington Heights carrot in front of Chicago. The Bears did for a while, and then the Bears didn't blink. And then they came back to the Bears and said, all right, look, we want to stay on the lakefront. Here's some renderings. Let's get something done. And they came to an agreement, the Bears and Chicago, but you're going to need state funding for this. And the boys downstate towards the Capitol, they're not too pleased with it, and they've kicked it back. So the Bears said, okay, we're going to go back to Arlington, and this is where we got this is how you got to this story. I think it's just all posturing, as you can hear me. I'm not too concerned with it. I think the Bears do eventually get what they want. They get that money that Chicago's trying to give them, and they get a new stadium right on the lakefront. They figure it out. Arlington Heights, I think it was all a ploy. It's just horse trading. Again, I've got a lot of horse puns.
Hey, the racetrack, why not? Vikings went through it. They were talking about moving to the burbs as well before they got U.S. Bank built. So, and it worked. They were going to take over an old ammunition plant site that was going to be cleaned up and moved up there.
Okay.
But that was years and years ago. But anyways, well, that brings us to the end of the show. Is there anything else for your fans that you want to bring up and talk about? Pay?
30 days until the Bears report to Bourbonnais, Illinois. 30 days till training camp kicks off. The Bears do have the extra preseason game this season because they'll be playing the Cleveland Browns in the Hall of Fame game. The Bears will be inducting 3 Hall of Famers. Devin Hester, Mongo, and I'm blanking on the third guy, but they're all deserved. Make sure you pay attention. Again, claws up, bear down.
Foster, you guys got anything happening in Detroit?
We break camp, it looks like, on July 27th. So
It's the same day we do.
So yeah, so about 30 days, depending on, about a month.
Cool.
The real stuff.
You expect anything between now and then? Anything good? Because we always expect, oh shit, somebody just got busted for driving 140 miles an hour down the interstate.
we are
who that was.
We are gamble free in Allen Park. So we're gonna keep a good thing going. We brought back one of our guys that got suspended for the entire year, I think CJ Moore or something. So we're squeaky clean of all that.
Selling beer now.
Selling beer?
Selling beer in the stadium now.
Okay.
In Allen Park?
Yeah. No, not Park. Ford Field.
Okay.
Did.
I should have saved. I saw the article where shows all the prices of the beer.
Prices. Yeah.
For a 12-ounce beer, and to see where
a lot cold. Yeah.
Our division wasn't as bad as some of the other ones. You go out to San Francisco and it's stupid, but
yeah,
it was like $8 to $10 or something for a 12-ounce beer, which is still too high, but there was worse, much, much worse. Now, the Vikings have a couple things happening. The one big one is that this last week, I don't know if you guys saw the pictures. Justin Jefferson was in France. I think he was in Cannes, not quite sure, but on the Riviera. And he was doing a fashion show for Vogue. And he and his college buddy, Joe Burrow, were all dressed up, and they were walking the walk. They were strutting their stuff. And I'm trying to remember who it was, Dior or one of the big fashion houses they were wearing. Now, Justin looked fine. Burrow, on the other hand, had an open back with ruffles suit jacket.
Figures.
It was just like, I could understand Caleb Williams, Joe Burrow, not so much.
Yeah.
Goff would never.
But
Never.
I thought that was funny. And then also that found out that there's some big NFL stars that are shooting a Pepsi commercial that will accompany the new Gladiators movie, because Gladiators 2 is coming out. And the new movie, the commercial will star Josh Allen, Derrick Henry, Justin Jefferson, and Travis Kelce. And it's supposed to be Gladiator themed. So I don't know if those guys are going to be all done up in Gladiator armor or what, but it should be interesting to
Maybe some open back suits.
maybe. It's that time of year. As long as they're staying out of trouble, right? It doesn't really matter. I hope they're having fun and getting paid for it. So, Dave says I should do some modeling. No, definitely not. All right, guys. June, where can they find Bleachers to Speakers?
You can find Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube. Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube. Subscribe to that channel. We'll be doing the next upcoming season. All of our shows will be there. Also, you can find our Piston shows as well. So subscribe to Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube. And for your audio feeds, any streaming podcast platform, just Bleachers to Speakers, FFFCent. Follow us. That way, whenever we drop, you'll get the notification and download the episodes.
Cool. Foster, besides the Detroit Lions, what does Bleachers to Speakers cover?
We do our visual content as far as our Tiger show, Corner to Copa, on Bleachers to Speakers as well. But yeah, the Lions and Pistons will be doing some NBA draft covers tonight, probably over there. So definitely want to check that out.
Yeah, if you're a basketball fan, by all means.
Absolutely.
Pay, where can they find the Bear Claw podcast?
Oh, you can find the Bear Claw podcast anywhere you get podcasts. That is Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, wherever. There, you got your audio fix. Where it seems there's no shortage to get an audio fix nowadays. If you just go in the search function, put in the Bear Claw, DABEAR Claw, we should pop up. Give us a listen. We can, if you want to watch on the visual side, on YouTube at the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fans. You can check us out there. We got something dropping every day on that channel. That's for the Bears. That's for the Bulls. That's for the White Sox. We're and all of the social links would you be able to find on that site as well. We're on Twitch. We're on TikTok. Everything's good. And to Foster's point, we will be having a watch along for day 2 of the NBA draft on the YouTube channel and discussing what the Bulls did or how they messed up on day 1. Good time. Check us out.
Well, I know there's some Timberwolves fans in my group that'll probably be watching to see how they do as well. And for Vikings First and SKOL, everybody in the chat, you found us. You're watching on Vikings First and SKOL. YouTube, you can find all our podcasts across any place that distributes podcasts, Apple's iTunes, Spotify, etc. You can ask your smart device and it'll play it for you. And plus, every once in a while, you'll find some written spots over on Fans First Sports Network, which we all partner with and that hosts our podcasts. They have written sides as well. Just go NFL, pick your favorite team, and in my case, it's the Vikings, and you can find us there, or go to VikingsFirstandSKOL.com, and it drives you there for some of our written content. Now, that's where you can find us, and we want to give a big shout-out to Fans First Sports Network. It doesn't matter what sport you get into, they have a program for it. If they don't, you can start one, because they're constantly looking for creators that want to talk their favorite sport. And I know we have wrestling, and we have soccer, or international football, or whatever you want to call it. And we have basketball and baseball and hockey, all the big sports, and a bunch of the little sports. And there's golf, and there's tennis, and there's MMA, and anything you can think of. they've got it. And if they don't, and you want to talk about it, contact Fans First Sports Network, and they can get you started. It's a piece of cake. With that, what do we say, June?
It's more ferocious.
Yes. Pay.
Bear down.
Is that all you got?
Please, no more.
The Bears. There you go.
I got to put that in there. And of course, SKOL Vikings. Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, and rate us on your favorite podcast aggregator. Thank you for listening to this NFC North group effort on the Fans First Sports Network. This has been a Bear Claw podcast. Bleachers to Speakers. Vikings First and SKOL. And of course, the Fans First Sports Network production. Thank you for listening.